lovely and supportive comment. I felt very nervous when I hit publish on that about the response that I would potentially get, but all of your responses were so beautiful, and it definitely made me feel a lot better and a lot less alone about this whole situation and many of the things that had happened. So thank you, my little cherubs. Also, just a quick note before we get into this video, I am currently running a 20% off sale on my tea company, Lions Tea Exchange, which I will link in the description box, for my summer flavors, so root beer, strawberry lemonade oolong, white peach, and mango black, as well as bourbon barrel chai and my apple cider teas, because I would like to move some inventory so that I can introduce some more flavors to all of you. So go to my website, it is linked in the description box. Go buy yourself a box of tea. The 20% off is applied at checkout. So once again, due to the doom and gloom of what is going on in the world at the moment, and also a little bit because of the doom and gloom of the last video that I made, I wanted to talk about something that genuinely made me laugh in this video, and not because it by itself is particularly funny, but because of the sheer stupidity of it all. At this point, I am sure the vast majority of you are familiar with the singer-songwriter Billie Eilish. Eilish, like many of her fellow celebrities, has made a number of very polarizing political statements over the years. She recently took aim at billionaires and started a weird feud with Elon Musk.
Love you all, but there's a few people in here that have a lot more money than me.
3, 2,
And, if you're a billionaire, why are you a billionaire? No hate, but yeah, give your money away. Baby. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
People think that billionaires probably have liquid billions in their bank accounts, because apparently nobody understands how assets or investments work. Also sort of funny when a millionaire like Billie Eilish takes a stab at billionaires, because she can't go after these millionaires in her orbit or take a stab at her own wealth. There is that. Eilish also made comments in support of Kamala Harris during the 2024 election, and she on and off commented on other social issues as well. But her newest series of comments happened a few weeks ago at the Grammys, and that is basically the origin point of our hilarious story. Many actors, actresses, and celebrities have taken these award shows recently as opportunities to make political statements. Almost all of them have said something about Minnesota and ICE, and probably some of them have said that we're living under a dictatorship, but I imagine...
But the guy is a convicted felon, a convicted rapist, he's a pedophile, he's the worst human being. If we're relying on this guy's morality for the most powerful country in the world, then we're all in a lot of trouble. So this is for her, this is for the people in the United States who are terrorized and scared today. I know I'm one of them.
But during her acceptance speech, Billie Eilish also took aim at ICE, going the extra step and saying that nobody is illegal on stolen land. Okay.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
By the eye of Agamotto, an unseen assist.
Yeah, it's just really hard to know what to say and what to do right now, and I feel really hopeful in this room, and I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter. And
yes, very, very good try. But this is not how borders work, or land acquisition. I mean it when I say that nobody should be taking cues about politics from this baby person who makes repetitive music. Anyway, the reason that I bring you back to Eilish's comments at the Grammys is because they have set off a chain of hilarious, albeit alarming events that have culminated in Eilish apparently getting an Australian journalist refused entry to the US and sent back to Australia because he said if no one is illegal, then you won't mind me moving into your house over there, you know, Billy, old pal. And I will come back to the details of this absurd situation in a little bit, so just hold on. But I would first like to explain what happened in the immediate aftermath of Billie Eilish's speech. But actually, before we do that, I really quickly just want to tell you about my favorite sponsor on this channel, and that is Dreams Sleep Hot Chocolate. Food funding Dreams. On a great book acquired, there's only one thing missing from tonight's lineup, and I would say that is my dream sleep hot chocolate. It has been very well established on this channel that I have well and truly built Dream into my nighttime routine, and I'm not remotely mad about it. Sometimes I don't really feel like having a hot drink before bed because I live in Texas, that's self-explanatory, so I do opt for the Dream capsules, which I find are just as good as the drink. I take a couple of these and I am off to sleep well and truly. But tonight we are once again going to make the hot chocolate, and it's very easy to make. Grab your mug, choose your milk, or water, I guess. In the microwave it goes, or on the stove. I made mine too hot, I can already tell. Put your Dream hot chocolate in the mug. Use your Dream frother to mix the concoction, and away you go. Dream is one of my favorite specials on the channel, and I can genuinely not say enough good things about them. I love this product because it's made with really great ingredients like L-theanine and magnesium and melatonin, although
By the eye of
melatonin. I drink this anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour before bed, and I like the fact that Dream gives me a really calm send-off to sleep. I stay asleep and then I wake up without feeling disgusting and groggy. I wake straight up and I'm out of bed. If you are somebody who struggles to fall asleep and then stay asleep, I genuinely believe that Dream will be able to help you on that journey. And it also helps that it tastes really, really good. So my little love bugs, if you are finally ready to take this step into better sleep, then click the link in the description or go to shopbeam.com/SydneyW. And for a limited time, get up to 35% off when you use my code SydneyW. After her statements about stolen land, a Native American tribe called the Tundra, which I'm probably saying wrong, sorry about that. Anyway, they came forward and confirmed that Billie Eilish's $3 million Los Angeles home is on their ancestral territory. Of course they basically said that celebrities should be more precise if they want to invoke Indigenous history for moral statements. The tribe went on to say that Eilish had not contacted them directly regarding her property, and they were displeased that she had not referenced their tribe by name when referring to the stolen land that her house is on. Bro, what is this timeline? On its own, this is genuinely hilarious to me because, one, what a way to get called out. Two, it's like you virtue signal for a group of people who in turn call you out who's not doing it correctly. Sometimes I really love her. But shortly after this statement was released, a California law firm reached out to the tribe and offered to help evict Billie Eilish from her home, given that she acknowledged that the land was stolen and therefore probably fair game or something. Now, to be clear, the law firm Bruno did follow up here saying that his offer was in fact tongue-in-cheek, but he did also say that Eilish's admission that he lives on stolen land gives the tribe a rightful action for possession as the true owners of the property. He also said in another interview that it's incredibly hypocritical of Hollywood elites to preach from their gated and guarded property, which is extremely true. And all of this rolls us around to where we are now. And I find all of this so funny because it is so reminiscent of a situation that I was in back in 2019. My OG community members and subscribers will remember this, but those of you who are new do not know the Sydney law. But do you guys remember when I got detained and interrogated by the FBI because of Jim Jeffries? Well, an similar situation unfolded for a fellow Australian journalist called whose name I might be saying wrong. Sorry if I am. And look, Drew, honestly, while this is very funny, and I'm very glad that you have found this humor for yourself, I don't know what you expected here. You were sort of asking for the outcome, my guy. Essentially, after Eilish's comments, Hubble tweeted that he had decided he was going to move into Billie Eilish's multi-million-dollar Malibu beachfront mansion because no human being is illegal on stolen land. Thank you, Billie, for your generosity.
Big news, everybody. I've decided today to move into Billie Eilish's $6 million Malibu beachside mansion. She announced today at Gravity that no human being is illegal on stolen land.
No one is illegal on stolen land.
So I'm going to be making this trip to America. I'm packing my bags right away. I'm looking forward to just taking possession of the $6 million Malibu mansion. No human being is illegal. So I want to thank everybody who's believed in me on this journey. I really can't wait to move in. It's now my house. I want to thank Billie Eilish as well for that.
He followed up by saying he'll actually donate someone Shelton's ticket to the United States, which led to him setting up a GoFundMe, which was deleted by the platform, and then he set up a GiveSendGo and raised just under $6,000 Australian, which I don't know what that is in the US, right? I am not a calculator. Interestingly, Pablo wasn't even the first person to do this. A GB News reporter called Ben Leo reportedly went to the front of Eilish's compound to show that nobody is illegal on stolen land. She likes to remind us.
Let us in, please, Billy. We are here because this is stolen land, Billy, and we think we should be given access to your quite lovely $3 million mansion. Here we go. Oh, nice little place. Bins are out, it's been collected today. First of all, isn't that ironic? Massive gates keeping people out. I thought Billy didn't believe in borders. Well, according to the driveway, Billy does believe in borders. She believes in massive gates keeping people out. Couple of cameras up there as well.
This is unironically how you get tased and beaten by giant former military men. Now, because I read your comments, I do feel like I can gauge what most of you are going to feel about this GB News segment, and I'm sure a portion of you are going to be like, yes, this is so funny, suck it, Billie Eilish, you're a giant hypocrite. And then I know that some of you are going to be like, yeah, this is funny, I can see the humor in this, but ultimately actually going to her home probably takes this too far. And frankly, I can very much see that perspective. I don't know, at least she has a big old security fence to keep everybody else out. But maybe, and I'm just spitballing here, maybe all of this drama and this happening is kind of what set the stage for what happened to Pavlu, you know, in the last few days. Because, my dear baby birds, after a little bit of silence, we finally got these series of tweets. Billie Eilish got me deported from the US. I spent 30 hours in custody at LAX trying to explain to the agents that my SHIT posts about moving into her mansion on stolen land were just a joke. Her lawyers seem to have actually compiled a dossier on me because the agents were asking me about my entire history as an activist, opposed to the Chinese government, whether I had ever plotted to assassinate Chinese Communist Party officials. Drew, what are you getting yourself into, guy? It was legitimately insane. I suffered for my art as an online SHIT poster. I was victimized and martyred by Billie Eilish. Oh, you guys do not understand the flashbacks that this is giving me. Seriously.
Billie Eilish reported me to ICE and got me deported from the US. Honestly, I can't even be really mad because it's kind of funny. But basically, I was joking online that I was going to fly to America and move into her mansion. It's obviously a joke. It's obviously a meme. And I get stopped by DHS and held for like 30 hours. Literally 30 hours.
This is a nice
No, of course not, man. It's a joke. It was like a meme that I came up with on Instagram. And I get held for 30 hours and deported. I get basically escorted onto a plane by armed guards, sent back to Australia. And I think it's actually amazing performance art. As a joke, I managed to get Billie Eilish, Hollywood celebrities, celebrities, to agree with ICE, to agree with border control. They suddenly support deportation because they don't like my news, they don't like me as a person. Who else takes jokes this far? That I was able to actually sit in a cell for 30 hours and endure that pain just to prove that Billie Eilish. And I guess at the end of the day, I'm just a bad guy.
It's one of her song titles. Song about being a bad guy that radio bashed for a while there. So ultimately, it seems that border security at LAX airport got Drew Pavlu on a technicality as far as his visa went. I imagine that he came in on one of the visa waivers, what are they called, ESTAs? Visa waiver ESTA thing. Anyway, I feel like he probably came into the country on a tourism visa, and they apparently told him that he needed a business visa because he was scheduled to be on a very big right-wing creative show on February 19th. So they put him back on a flight and sent him home. And I just have to imagine, having done the Australia to America flight 9 billion times,
This
how
is
frustrating
real
this would be,
firepower!
because you do 15 hours minimum. Yeah, depending on if you do stopovers and things, you do 15 hours in the air getting to LAX, and then he had 30 hours reportedly in DHS custody or in border patrol custody, and another 15-hour flight home. That is miserable. On February 17, 2026 as well, DHS responded to all of this and said that the claims about Billie Eilish having had a hand in this are false. Honestly, I am 99% sure this. For me, what was so crazy reading all of Drew Pavlo's tweets and the way that all this played out, it just reminds me so much of what happened to me in 2019 along with my friend Avi. Again, I'm not sure how many of you remember this, but my happened was traumatizing. I cried at the end for like hours. So like I mentioned, long story short, my friend Avi did an interview with a fellow Australian who is a comedian whose name is Jim Jeffries. Jeffries cut up the interview deceptively, not knowing that Avi had covertly filmed the whole thing himself, anticipating that Jeffries would do something like this. Avi then went ahead and published the actual interview online with his commentary. Avi was understandably quite upset with being edited in such a way, and so he was saying online that he was going to fly to the United States and crash one of Jim Jeffries' shows and basically confront him about why he did what he did, because Jim Jeffries worked for Comedy Central, Viacom at the time. So this was kind of a plan that was taking shape, and he said to me, do you want to come with me? And I was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. We landed at LAX, and we immediately both got detained and separated, which was on this way and took me to me. And then I got interrogated by 2 FBI officials with a little badge and everything, and they were asking me these crazy questions about if I was going to get weapons, if I just like a weird series of questions around Jim Jeffries and violence, and obviously the answer to all those questions was no. I am not a violent person. I would not do something like that. And I think that similar to Drew Pavlu's experience, I think that the instruction in those cases is to try and to send the person in question back to where they belong. So in Drew's case, it's saying, oh, you're here on the wrong visa. In Avi's case, they found that he answered a question incorrectly, I think, on his visa, and so they were like, no, we're going to deny you this and send you back. But for me, they did not know that I was a citizen, so they could not do anything to me, so they released me into LAX, and I was so traumatic, I cried in the lobby of LAX airport. So again, it does in fact look like people can be illegal on stolen land. Like in Avi's case, I was not. But the fact that DHS denies the reality of what they are doing is just mental, because why would they be asking some random guy about Billie Eilish and have a whole dossier on him if somebody hadn't called in a tip or asked them to investigate this person? And again, that's the same thing with what happened to Avi. Why are you stopping 2 Australians who don't have any reason to be stopped? You're stopping us to question us about a specific person and specific things that you think we might be doing. And in our case, we found out that the head of Viacom employed some member of the FBI. I just don't really understand the point of lying about this type of thing, because people are not stupid. We aren't very capable of putting 2 and 2 together. Anyway, the funniest part about this Billie Eilish story, to me at least, is that when push comes to shove, this whole nobody is illegal on stolen land thing completely falls in a heap. Billie Eilish's team, or maybe even she did this herself, we don't know, made sure that immigration restrictions were enforced on Pavlu because he made comments about coming to her house that resides on the aforementioned stolen land. He was detained and questioned because he was joking about doing to her what she wants done to this country as a whole. Except that in this case, Drew wasn't illegal, he had papers and had a visa, so maybe he was really across the southern border. One of my This was sincerely one of my biggest problems with leftist celebrities and all of their virtue. Why did I just say it? Virtue. It is actually okay to admit that borders matter, and gates matter, and your gated communities matter, and being safe in your own environment. All of these are things that that Billie Eilish and her team made sure were enforced because they matter not just to her, but to the vast majority. And when push came to shove, she made sure that a foreign invader could not come into her country, and more specifically, more importantly, could not cross the borders around her own home, and made sure that he was not allowed to be in the And rightly so.
This is real
Like
firepower!
most of us would be like, yeah, that's totally understandable. Like, you don't know who this person is, you don't know what this person has planned, and obviously I don't think that she had anything planned. I really didn't around, but she doesn't know that, and she doesn't know the intention that he has when he's talking about doing this. And so the amusing thing is that I think a lot of moderates and people on the right see this kind of behavior and say this is a rational response to someone saying they're going to come to your house. Now, why we don't apply that to the entirety of this nation is confusing and stupid. Like, if we are being honest, it is madness that this type of a thing cannot be expanded to include national borders and territory that is, in fact, the United States, and keeping people out who have not come of age legally. These things are bad, they have always been, and it's why a huge portion of us currently support the unfortunate, I guess, of mass deportations and the complete shutdown of all of America's borders. And in a weird way, I am kind of glad that Drew went ahead and did this because, as he points out, it really does demonstrate
Judge,
that
jury,
depending on how you approach a social issue like this, you can swing progressive types around supporting things that ordinarily they would say are, bigoted and racist and xenophobic and what have you. Billie Eilish's hypocrisy here is so obvious that even Elon Musk tweeted about it. I guess it's part of their ongoing feud. You know, she takes stabs at him and makes fun of him for being a millionaire and insults him, and he takes stabs back. I don't know. Anyway, the celebrity posturing here gets incredibly annoying because it adds unnecessary noise to issues that are already very complex. And while there are some people who really do mean it when they say that we should have wide open borders, Billie Eilish is so clearly not one of these people. So why make these comments at all? Apparently,
This is real firepower!
being invaded. Security methods when it's her privacy and property on their own. And the hypocrisy probably wouldn't bother me so much if they were just more upfront about the double standards that they have. But going ahead and preaching no borders, no walls, no enforcement on a national level, while building a giant gate around your own home and making sure it is enforced, and going to the extent of getting someone refused entry to the country, that is something I can deal with. That is hypocrisy that just exceeds anything that I can emotionally handle. These people even have armed guards at their own award shows, people designed to keep other people out. Everything they do is saturated with keeping the vast majority of people away from them. But as soon as this applies to the nation as a whole, it is wrong. If nobody is illegal on stolen land, then why did Billie Eilish make sure that one guy stayed illegal on hers? And I can answer that question. Because deep down, Billie Eilish and her ilk, other progressive yoga celebrities, inherently know that not only property rights, but sovereign borders and maintaining those borders actually really matters. It's just everyone else's borders and everyone else's safety that she's willing to sacrifice for a whole bunch of laws. So in the end, while I do find this situation very funny, I am also glad that somebody was prepared to put themselves in the line of fire, so to speak, in order to demonstrate just how hypocritical people like Billie Eilish, and specifically Billie Eilish, actually is and actually are. These people are really good at talking and patting each other on the back for their incredibly progressive positions, but in actuality, they very much align with how you and I think, but only when it applies to their safety and their property and their borders. Now, on that very happy and pleasant note, and before I open the floor to all of you, this is just a reminder to check out Beam using the link in the description. I
You'll need a
freaking
top-notch
love this
team to
stuff.
win
I am
this one.
not joking. I take it most nights because it very much helps me sleep. And so if you are somebody who does struggle to get to sleep or stay asleep, or maybe you just want a little bit of help, Absolutely check them out. I genuinely promise, hand on heart, that you won't regret it. Now I open the floor to all of you. What do you all think? Do you think this situation is as funny as I think it is? Do you think that it's actually really unfortunate and what happened to Drew just sucks? Maybe you think both, that it sucks and it's funny. Do you think that it really does go to illustrate just how hypocritical these celebrities, and more specifically Billie Eilish, is? Do you think that this was sort of always going to be the case, that they would always take action like this against somebody who was even making jokes like this on the internet? Do you think that it's right? Do you think that it's wrong? What do you make of the response from DHS? Do you think that they're lying? Do you think they're telling the truth? Who would have tipped them off if, you know, if they are telling the truth? And what you generally make of this issue overall. As always, if you have made it this far in the video, congratulations. I always like having you along for a little ride. If you are new here and you're not subscribed already and you would like to see more of me and more of this kind of content, feel free to subscribe to the channel, as well as leaving this video a like and a comment, because I do read the majority of them and I like hearing your feedback. I really do read your comments. I don't know why people don't believe me. Sometimes I actually even respond to your comments from my little alt account, which is City Lots of Music. People are like, is this really you? Yes, it's really me. But people pretending to, tell you to go to that's not me. I go and ask people anything like that. On that note, though, as I always say, I hope you stay safe and well and make lots of good choices, kids. And I will see your wonderful little shining faces in the next video.
Time for Lefties Losing It, and let's have a burst of weapon break crazy. I said it before, and I'll say it again, a septum ring is almost always linked to severe mental health issues, and this next lass is the further proof of that theory.
Here's the thing! I don't want to
Cosmic light returns.
I don't want to I want them taken into the center elsewhere!
I am a delightful lady, not at all disgustingly violent and unhinged. Just the typical lefty losing it. Let's hear now from another lefty lady who explains she has no love for America. She is only in the country because it's easy to make money.
Let me hold your hand when I say this. We do not move to America because we think it's a better country. We move here because it's a little less worse than our other countries, because we're stupid to think that we moved to this country for some hot dogs and some baseball. That's our lives. Music, food, culture, history, literally all of the above. We just move here because we are looking to make more money and offer a better chance for our families.
Okay, but if those countries are so much better than America, then why do you need to move to America to give your family a better life? Why would a country with such rich culture, tradition, superior in every way to America, not be a great place to raise your family? Why is there more opportunity in America, even for an impoverished migrant? I want to reflect on that one, love. Now, earlier in the week, I brought you the happy news of CNN losing 2/3 of its audience since 2016. And here's another reason why. They are so hard left these days that this conspiracy theorist is the network's chief international anchor.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Sandra, and ask you a question about American elections.
We're going to have them.
Are you sure? Yeah. Are you sure that President
The
Trump
fact
is
you
going to...
asked me that is really offensive, but yeah, we're going to have them.
Okay, but you know why? Because they've
Oh,
already...
I don't know
okay,
why.
good. Well,
I don't know why. I don't know why anybody would ask me that.
Well,
Quite
because
frankly, listen to what's going on. I like you. Let's talk about
but you can convince everybody, you can assure Americans and others that it will go as usual.
the only people worried about us not having elections being put in a phone booth.
Okay.
We're going to have
Good.
an
Glad
election.
to hear it.
Incredible stuff. I can't believe she really asked that the US were going to hold elections. Embarrassing. To New York now, where idiot lefty protesters are blocking Fifth Avenue to yell at Trump Tower and give it a finger. Yes, I'm sure the building's feelings are really, really hurt. Meanwhile, this is the man New Yorkers have elected as mayor. Zoran Mandani is now threatening to, and I quote, raise our rainy day fund and retiree benefit fund.
Rather do is ensure that they remain as they are so that the city can be on firm financial footing. However, in order to get to this point of closing the gap in both this fiscal year and the next fiscal year, we are forced to raise the rainy day fund, the retiree health benefits trust reserve, and to increase property taxes across these other years.
And increase property taxes. Wow, you got the trifecta there. Now, let's talk about Cardi B. She's been having a meltdown since the clearly more talented and successful Nicki Minaj declared her support for the Trump administration, and in particular the work the administration is doing to protect persecuted Christians in countries like Nigeria and elsewhere. Cardi B's meltdown has seen her indulge in some bizarre antics. I don't even know what she's doing in this next clip, and I apologise in advance for what I think is going to be a uncomfortable and cringeworthy 30 seconds. Surgery that she's had performed. There's a medical malpractice suit there somewhere. Now here is Cardi B taking another tumble, this time on stage.
Behold the god of thunder!
Nice try there by a dancer trying to cover that up when she's not falling over like a drunken clown. Cardi B is saying stuff like this, mouthing off of that ice and threatening to... I am ready to start the show!
Ain't nobody stealing damage chance.
And that's who the Democrats thought was an ideal candidate to campaign for Kamala Harris. Good work, team. Talking about the Democrats, you know, you have to admire this about Hillary Clinton. She has an easy ability to lie with complete confidence, complete lack of shame. Here she explains to the BBC that her and her husband, Bill Clinton, had no relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. I mean, never mind the fact that Bill Clinton was a regular on the Lolita Express. Never mind that he had such a bizarre relationship with Epstein that this painting took pride of place in Jeffrey Epstein's main residence in New York. Yes, that is the infamous blue dress that Monica Lewinsky was rumored to be wearing. And then there are the things both Hillary and Bill had with Ghislaine Maxwell through her rather significant role in supporting the creation of the Clinton Global Initiative. And so close was the relationship between the two couples that in 2013, Clinton sued their charity honoured Ghislaine Maxwell. This is some 4 years after sexual accusations against her emerged, and 2 years after Bill Clinton started from the ritual events. And who can forget that infamous picture of Ghislaine Maxwell at Chelsea Clinton's wedding? But, oh no, Hillary Clinton now claims there was no relationship. No links with Epstein and Maxwell and the Clintons. Listen to this.
Lights out. You know, we have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about. Husband has said, drive on the airplane for charitable work.
I am ready to put on a show.
I don't recall ever meeting him. I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative.
Thousands of people get honoured by the Clinton Global Initiative, Hillary. Did thousands get invited to your only child's wedding? Let's bring in comic Alex Stein. Alex, What do you make of that explanation from Hillary Clinton?
Well, Hillary Clinton is a psychopath. I mean, she has the ability to lie better than any Hollywood actress. You know what the weirdest thing is with this Savannah Guthrie kidnapping? You know, Savannah's husband, Michael Feldman, actually worked in the Clinton administration in the 90s, and then he ran a group called the, I think it's called I wrote it down, Glover Park Group. That was actually a public affairs consultant where he worked with the Clintons and basically got all their dirt off the internet. So there is a weird connection where this guy is basically like a Clinton cleaner, and then now his mother-in-law gets kidnapped right when the Epstein files come out. It's almost like, I'm just speculating this, the kidnapping could be somebody sending a message to Savannah Guthrie not to get involved because she's one of the few mainstream media journalists that actually interviewed one of Epstein's victims. So, I don't know, with all of the weird mystery surrounding Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping.
That is a wild conspiracy theory, even for you, Alex. But I do know you do love your conspiracy theories, so you're the perfect man to ask this question. There are millions online on social media at the moment who are speculating about Ghislaine Maxwell's newly released video. There are many who are saying this is an imposter, that she looks markedly different. Her nose in particular, they say, is different. It's been the subject of much analysis. Surely you don't subscribe to that sort of wild conspiracy theory.
Well, Rita, of course I do. First of all, you're big on social media, and you've seen those videos. Well, I'm saying you've seen those videos where they can buy a mask, and it looks like Walter White from Breaking Bad. So I wouldn't be surprised. And then you saw the Daily Mail article that said that they had to use a fake body double, and they got rid of Jeffrey Epstein's body. They admitted that. Why do they need to use a body double? So some funny business is going on. Trust me.
I just can't believe that we would be a fake Ghislaine Maxwell and that she's free somewhere in the tropics enjoying herself. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of conspiracy theories have proved to be accurate, but that's too wild for me. I'm not there yet, Alex. Now, let's talk about this case out of Minneapolis. There's been more charges arising out of a church being stormed by anti-ICE protesters during Sunday service. Temple University student Jerome Richardson turned himself into police on federal charges relating to his alleged role in assisting Don Lemon storming that church in Minnesota. Alex, Don Lemon continues to play the victim and is now claiming that he's just hated because he tells the truth.
I am a great foe because I'm outspoken. The president doesn't like me. I'm black. I have a platform. I'm gay, and I am not afraid of them. I am fearless. And so to them, it's the perfect foil because MAGA hates me. I tell the truth about their cult.
Alex, is that why Don Lemon is mocked and maligned because he's a brave truth teller?
Well, you know, to be fair, he's not 100% wrong because there's nothing more dangerous than somebody that has nothing to lose. And he's lost it all. He lost the CNN gig. He's really got nothing else to lose. So that is the most dangerous person. That's why it's always best advice not to get involved with a homeless person if they're acting crazy because they got nothing to lose. So I would say that he's in that position where he is a little bit of he's got a little bit of danger because he could, you know, basically kamikaze a situation where he now, if I'm being honest, to his fans, he looks like a victim of the Trump administration. I don't think that he is. I think he deserves to be in jail. But he's able to spin that narrative, and he's probably got more support because of it. So, you know, I don't think he's actually being that egregious when he says that he is a little bit of a threat. But, you know, MAGA is a lot bigger than Don Lemon, and I don't think that he's a big number.
Thanks for the line. He is loving the attention and the victim playing this arrest. He got a standing ovation in some Hollywood crowd. I mean, this is the golden period of his career at the moment. He's loving this. Now let's talk about one of your favourite topics, Sydney Sweeney. Busty model and actress Sydney Sweeney joined the American Eagle Outfitters chairman and CEO at the New York Stock Exchange last week to ring the opening bell. In denim there, Alex. This follows the viral success of the Sydney Sweeney Has Great Jeans campaign, which was hugely controversial. I predicted then that she will switch to woke in 2026 at some point. What do you make of that prediction? I think we are going to see Sydney Sweeney come out and just mouth all the leftist talking points.
Well, to be fair, Michael Jordan would always say the reason why he didn't get involved in politics is because Republicans buy sneakers too. So in that sense, like she's been trying to stay out of it, but I do think at some point she might benefit from doing it. She might get more roles because of this. I don't think you're necessarily wrong, but she has navigated it pretty good so far down the middle of not being political, even though it seems like she's right-leaning.
Before you go, let's talk about actress Cynthia Erivo. She has come out and spoken about the speculation surrounding her relationship with her Wicked co-star, Ariana Grande. There's been talk that they are romantically involved. Cynthia's denied this and chalked up the conclusion of their relationship to people not being used to seeing deep and real platonic female friendships in the media. Alex, I don't know a deep and real female friendship involves just constantly crying for no reason, touching each other in public, and just generally being a little painful.
I hope you let my friendship be one of the things that me on the wedding. Another time, helicopter?
What are you aiming at?
He brought such light into the conflict there. We appreciate it.
Even through this press tour, something's bothering her. She's gonna fix something. I know. She's getting the fixing itch. But Cynthia Erivo does.
I am ready to put on a show.
Pinch me moment for each of you on the set. Was it a day you arrived on the set or some special moment that happened during the filming of this preview? What was the biggest pinch?
Alex, I don't know what's happening there, but that necklace did not need to be adjusted. I know that much. What do you make of this Gio and Cynthia Erivo's explanation of their relationship?
Well, I definitely think they're hiding something. I mean, just the way that they're just so openly affectionate towards one another. That's just bizarre. But when you watch that video, they almost look like extraterrestrials. It doesn't like it looks like it's almost an AI rendition of two human beings talking. So I hope that they both get the help that they need. I think they've both been hurt by a lot of fans. That's a lot of
I like that theory. The men are to blame. Alex Stein, thank you for your time today. It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start with some happy news. CNN has lost nearly 2/3 of its viewers since 2016 amid growing fears the network is circling the drain. What a happy headline that is, but I can't imagine why CNN is struggling. After all, they have a token conservative now, with Scott Jennings is on the network. Here are 5 lefties, including the host, just yelling at him for existing. I can't understand why that's not rating. It's hugely entertaining. Let's have an example of the balance that CNN is famous for from Abby Phillips. Let's see Abby's always consistent analysis when Ilhan Omar was sprayed with salad dressing compared to when President Trump was shot by a derangement.
Ilhan Omar in particular has been the center, and you heard it there from the president, the center of a lot of awful attacks. He called for garbage. Donald Trump is actually responsible for the vitriol. So is there going to be any acknowledgement of that? It's not about the politics of the individual. I mean, look at these people. The thing that they have in common is their complete lack of mental stability. Why is that not the conversation? Why are we in this place of who's to blame? Is it the Democrats or the Republicans? The Republicans aren't trying to assassinate the Democrats. And a lot of talk of they. And then when it's not a they, it's just a person. It's an individual.
Never miss.
Let's hear now from trans activist Lily Tino Contino, who has gone from being passive-aggressive to aggressive-aggressive. Fresh from being investigated by authorities for filming real women in female restrooms in Disney, Contino's claiming that if you're guilty of the crime of misgendering, then there will be a confrontation. Oh yes, the dudes are losing.
Because if we meet and you call me by the wrong pronouns, it's gonna be a confrontation. And I think you just want to go about your day. I want to go about my day. I don't want to be upset about getting misgendered, and I know you don't.
I am ready to put on a show.
And if you do want to purposely upset people, then you need to look in the mirror and ask yourself why. Why am I like this? Why do I have to make people's lives hard? Why don't
Only 60 seconds left.
You see, it's not about making lives harder. It's about not submitting to bullying or indulging in the delusions of confused folk, even if those confused folk are threatening confrontation or violence. Now to Munich, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivered an exceptional speech, genuinely profound, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she wasn't impressed.
Was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain. I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
Actually, it did originate in Spain, and AOC might also want to reflect on why Mexicans speak Spanish. How did that happen? Let's hear more from AOC. Here she talks about culture and Western civilization.
A fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, is, you know, it is very thin.
The values that underpin Western civilization, Western culture are very thin. She's a Marxist and not a particularly bright one or an eloquent one. Listen here as AOC struggles to answer the most obvious of questions about Taiwan. This is painful.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
You know, I think that this is such a, you know, I think that this is a,
You'll need a top-notch team to win this
this
one.
is, of course, a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
Oh dear, they're not sending their best, are they? But it gets worse. Also on that panel was the Democrat governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. Listen to how she flounders trying to answer a question about Ukraine, and she even says that AOC is much better equipped to talk about geopolitics. The AOC we just heard, really? Goodness.
On Ukraine, what does victory look like?
30 seconds before you
Oh,
attack.
please, I'd love to hear your answer.
It is. The two that I am on the panel with are much more steeped in foreign policy than a governor is. But you know, I do think that Ukraine's independence, keeping their land mass, and having the support of all the allies, I think is the goal from my vantage point.
Now compare the Democrats' contribution at the Munich Security Conference to this blistering address from the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who spelled out to America's European allies that the Trump administration has no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West-managed decline. This is brilliant. Listen to every word.
And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak. Because that makes us weak. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo, rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
And Marco Rubio made it clear that the US alliance with Europe must be built on strength and the values of Western civilization. I'm warning you, you may need a cold shower or a cigarette after hearing this.
We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization of human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our society is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. An alliance, the alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future.
I am ready to
and
put on a
fear
show.
we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations.
Tremble before fire! Senior editor-at-large Josh Hammer. Josh, the Secretary of State received a standing ovation after that speech. That is something to behold from the European political class. And that speech was profound.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Yeah, it's a defining speech for Marco Rubio. He has already been a historic Secretary of State, the first man since Henry Kissinger to serve in the dual capacity as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. He has arguably been Donald Trump's #1 foreign policy advisor when it comes to a lot of Donald Trump's louder, bolder moves on the world stage. Things like the operation in Iran last June, things like Nicolas Maduro, extraction in Venezuela just about a month and a half ago there, and now he is coming to this venue deep in the heart of Europe and giving an absolute barn burner of a half-hour speech. But frankly, as someone who follows Marco Rubio pretty closely, I think back to a speech that he also gave in Jerusalem, a much shorter speech. He gave about a 6 to 7, maybe 10-minute speech in Jerusalem back in September to commemorate the opening of the city of excavation there in the city of David. And he spoke very similarly about how the origins of Western civilization were laid here in these stones here in Jerusalem. And he got kind of frivolous overtones there with a reminder to the European powers, or at least the European former powers, that they have a rich heritage and a rich civilizational history. And he's basically saying, we don't want to divorce you. We're actually quite happy historically with being your partners when it comes to NATO, when it comes to the mutual threat of the Soviet Union, the Cold War there. But guess what? The calendar is now 2026, and there are a lot of different threats on the world stage. There is the harrowing rise of communist China. There is the rise of Islamism there. And if Europe wants to remain relevant, they have to recover what they once were. They're not doing a very good job of that, are we there? So it's a very solemn warning to the European elites. And the fact that, frankly, it was received with no shortage of applause, as you correctly mentioned, Rita, shows that perhaps there is more of an appetite than some of us give than credit for actually listening to his message. The proof ultimately, of course, will be in the pudding.
It will. I think it's a very fractured Europe right now. You've got countries that have personalities that have turned to the centre right, from Italy to Finland, and got other countries that are just further doubling down on that leftist mentality, that neo-Marxist ideology. Now, I want to play you Marco Rubio here warning Western allies about outsourcing their power to systems beyond their control. This sounds like a rejection of globalization.
An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. One that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life. And one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts.
Josh, he rejected the notion there that all cultures are equal, something that AOC was very aggrieved about when she spoke later. He unequivocally stated in that speech the value of Western civilization. You either protect it and advance it, or you destroy it from within, Josh.
Look, Rita, Marco Rubio is a nationalist. He is not a globalist. He is not a transnationalist. He is an American nationalist. His views when it comes to all sorts of issues have taken a markedly national direction. They've been really trending that way for many, many years now.
This is Power Hour with Gabriella Power.
Hello and welcome to Power Hour. I'm Gabriella Power. Thank you for joining us. Well, is everything okay with Stephen Colbert? He's been having a hissy fit on air because he was reminded by lawyers at CBS of a little thing called the law. And now that temper tantrum performance of his, which we'll show you in a moment, has totally backfired, with CBS calling him out for lying to his audience on his program, which I doubt is the first time. So let's rewind and unpack all of this. Stephen Colbert recorded an interview with Democrat Texas Senate candidate James Tallarico on The Late Show, Colbert's supposedly hilarious program that doesn't have long left at all, only a few months to go.
I was wondering where my Academy Plus advantage
as well as his audience. But his lawyers at CBS gave Colbert options, reminding him that if he wants that interview with James Tallarico to go to air, he'd have to give equal airtime to the other candidates because FCC equal time laws require broadcast networks and radio stations to give equal time to all candidates in an election. The View is right now being investigated over this very issue. What does Colbert do? He crashes out on TV, of course, blaming Twitter for Donald Trump.
Let's just call this what it is. Donald Trump's administration wants to silence anyone who says anything bad about Trump on TV, because all Trump does is watch TV. Okay?
I mean, his show is really just a mix of off-the-scale PDS, promotion of Democrats, and, of course, bizarre dances. So Colbert claims that this is censorship, which is simply not the truth. But you know, just like what happened with Jimmy Kimmel, who was suspended after making hateful jokes and lying about Charlie Kirk's murder, Donald Trump is blamed for business decisions. And the leftist media, they wrap it up, always do. Here's the article from The Atlantic with this headline. Censorship comes for Stephen Colbert. The latest dust-up the talk show host at CBS should be concerning for people of any political very MSNBC also raved about this on his program. Of course he did. These people have nothing better to do other than to rage about Donald Trump. It is such a waste of time. So CBS is pushing right back against Colbert's rant and is really calling him out for his lies, making it known that Colbert was never prohibited from broadcasting that interview. He was reminded of his equal time clause. This is a statement from CBS. The Late Show was not prohibited by CBS from broadcasting the interview with James Tallarico. The show was provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for two other candidates, including Jasmine Crockett, and presented options for how the equal time for other candidates could be. The Late Show decided to present the interview through its YouTube channel with on-air promotion of the broadcast, rather than potentially providing the equal time. So, I guess in Colbert's defense, he clearly did not have Jasmine Crockett on his program. We can really blame him for that. Here is Jasmine Crockett responding to the controversy and actually defending the Trump administration.
We did receive information suggesting that the federal government did not shut down the segment. Number one. That is my understanding that the federal government didn't shut this down. And we will do an official statement once then another official statement that we anticipate is going to be coming from Paramount. All right? So we will read what they say, and then we'll go from there.
Not often you hear that, hearing Jasmine Crockett defending the administration. We've also heard from FCC Chair Brendan Carr, who really ripped into mainstream media for calling the Colbert stuff.
I think yesterday was a perfect encapsulation of why the American people can't trust the institutions to do in the national news. And this was very clearly an effort to gin up, get clicks and raise money.
last night.
the one who pointed out that the facts were completely different than what the fake news media was running with. Nobody did like an about face, did a fact correction. They just pivoted and moved it. They got trust in news media.
And Nick Weinstein, Signal Principal and Polestar. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us. Let's start with Stephen Colbert. He's right now trying censorship. Let's listen to part of what he has to say in his program.
You know who is not one of my guests tonight? That's Texas State Representative James Talarico. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, that we could not have him on the broadcast. Then I was told in some uncertain terms that not only could I not have him on, I would not mention me not having him on. And because my network really doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this.
CBS has hit back, calling Stephen Colbert out for lying to his audience, making it known that CBS did not block that interview with James Talarico. They actually reminded Colbert of the FCC equal time law for candidates and that they provided him with options. John, can I get your assessment? What do you make of this performance, kissy fit by Colbert?
Well, first of all, Gabrielle, anything Stephen Colbert says, my default assumption is that the opposite is the truth. So the fact that CBS says that's not true at all, we did no such thing, doesn't surprise me. Colbert has done nothing in his show for years except attack Donald Trump. It's the only thing he wants to do. And he tried to frame this incident into an anti-Trump story. In reality, as you say, the only concern is raised by CBS's lawyers who say, oh, we have to be concerned about the equal time rule. Maybe you have to have the other candidates on too, which Colbert obviously didn't want to do. Colbert's contract with CBS is expiring or has been terminated. He's going to be off the air soon. And I see this as part of his effort to stay relevant once he's off television as a critic of Donald
Spot on there. I mean, he's definitely trying to stay relevant, but he's got to come up with some sort of new material apart from laughing at Donald Trump, which is one trick, really. But Nick, what do you make of all of this? We've also heard from FCC Chair Brendan Carr, who really had a go at the media for falling to Colbert's stance, saying this is exactly why no one trusts the media. But do you think this controversy might actually help change the Texas Senate election?
Well, certainly he's announced major fundraising now, but let's be clear. I mean, Stephen Colbert hasn't been funny since he was hosting the Colbert Show during the first Obama administration. The reason he's still on the air is because he's a faithful mouthpiece for the Democratic Party establishment. What I think is being lost in the debate, and lost in the woe is me act for Stephen Colbert, is that he wasn't even going to be forced to put Republican politicians running for Texas Senate on the air. He was going to be forced to give equal time to Jasmine Crockett, a black female member of Congress who's leading in every major public poll in Texas in the Democratic primary. So she is not the choice of establishment Democrats in Washington, D.C. It's State House Representative James Talarico. So the real question for Stephen Colbert, for me, is not so much, a question of why did you can this interview, but why are you refusing to platform this female member of Congress?
Very important question. Right. Look, I know that there is so much Trump derangement syndrome in the media, but this piece by CBS journalist Stefano Pozzone I found really interesting about what Venezuela is like 2 months on the capture of dictator Nicolas Maduro. He writes, it's hard to overstate how different the South American country now feels. There's buzz, optimism, that to be frank, I have never seen before. This piece goes on to talk about the time he has spent there covering the chaos in Venezuela over the last decade, and writes, the changes happening in Venezuela now are like something I have seen before. And the very last line of this piece is quoting a source that says, at least for now, we've got to admit that Trump got this one right. John, can I get your assessment? CNN admitting that Donald Trump got this one right.
Well, that CNN piece is one of the most optimistic things I've read about Venezuela in a really long time. It was especially great to see Chris Wright, our terrific Secretary of Energy, down there meeting with Delcy Rodriguez, now in charge of the Venezuelan government. And so Venezuela was once a rich country. It could be a rich country again. And it looks like Rodriguez is awake to the fact that socialism is idiotic, and they need to get back to a free enterprise economy. I think the real question, though, is what is the position of Venezuela's army? It is the army that keeps unpopular dictators like Chavez and Maduro in power. And I don't know whether the Venezuelan army is ready to stand down and allow real reform or not.
Nick, can I get your assessment, and how is this issue being reflected in the polls? I mean, it's been 2 months since Maduro was captured in such an incredible move. But as we know, people tend to move on. What's your assessment of how this is being reflected in the polls?
Well, I think it continues to buoy President Trump, and the American people are very satisfied with the way that President Trump's conducted himself on the international stage. And, peace through strength is becoming, the Trump agenda here. Certainly when you look at Venezuela, but what I think is potentially even more compelling to the American people, the further that this develops, is, we're at a stage right now where the number 2 to Chavez is admitting that socialist policies don't work, and that, we need to go back to these market-based principles. But we have domestic American politicians who are continuing to beat the drum for these socialist policies. And, the more that Venezuelan people embrace these economic reforms, and we get Venezuela back to being the prosperous leader in South America that it once was, the more that these American and European politicians who are embracing the anti-imperialist Maduro double talk, despite the abject failure in his leadership, the more that those politicians' agendas will be exposed.
We saw Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking at the Munich Security Conference, and she had this to say about Venezuela.
We look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And
this was AOC's big moment to shine on the world stage. She accidentally revealed that she has no idea where Venezuela is. She was also wrong, I would say, in her assessment of Maduro. I mean, he's accused of rigging elections, not cancelling them for one. Can I get your thoughts?
A little help, please.
Well, first of all, I don't think AOC understands what happened here. She talked about kidnapping Maduro, which is not what happened. We arrested Maduro, who is a wanted criminal. He's under indictment in the Southern District of New York. That was not a kidnapping. That was an arrest pursuant to United States law. And apart from her geographical ignorance, I don't think Ocasio-Cortez understands that.
Big AOC on the world stage there, I think left and right, we agree, it was pretty humiliating. Will that damage her hopes of running for president, even though she claims that that's not what she wants to do?
Well, I think anyone who's a savvy observer knows that this is what she's teeing up. And the biggest criticism that's going to come for Ocasio-Cortez before we start getting into the nitty-gritty of what she actually stands for, which is itself pretty terrifying, is does she have the requisite knowledge and experience as a backbench member of Congress to represent the United States on the world stage? And this was far from the only wonder this conference, where she just looks completely out of her depth. And the question that I would be asking is someone in the Democratic establishment deciding whether do we get behind AOC for president is, if this is the product of a year of preparation for her role on the world stage, is this someone who is going to be up to the task of running the country? And I'm skeptical.
Yeah, I'm skeptical as well. We saw AOC out campaigning for Zohran Mamdani, New York City mayor. He's now called for the state to increase taxes on corporations and the wealthy to help address the city's budget deficit, warning that the alternative option will be for the city to raise property taxes. Listen to this.
There are two paths to bridge this gap. The first is the most sustainable and the fairest path. This is the path of ending the drain on our city and raising taxes on the richest New Yorkers and the most profitable corporations. And if we do not go down the first path, the city will be forced down a second, more harmful path. Faced with no other choice, the city would have to exercise the only revenue lever fully within our own control. We would have to raise property taxes.
The Cosmos heals you. Can I get your assessment of this? I mean, what a message for homeowners. But I want to know, are we still in this Mamdani honeymoon period after the elections that really dropped off now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's already been some chinks in the armor. There was a major winter storm on the East Coast, and historically, the NYPD would go out onto the streets of New York City and help get mentally ill homeless folks off the streets. And because of Mamdani's extreme socialist agenda, they were told not to do that. And I think 18 people, as of the last count, died of frostbite in America's most prosperous city. But this has been the problem with the Mamdani campaign from the get-go, is that the math just didn't add up. And, you know, he likes to talk about just raising the taxes on the wealthy, but in New York State, 1.6% of the population is already paying 49% of the taxes. You know, how much more can we ask them to continue to pay and expect them to stick around? It used to be the old adage, as long as Wall Street's in New York City, the financial services industry will have to stay. I hate to break it to folks, the internet's a thing now. Financial services does not need to be in New York City adjacent to Wall Street. And Mamdani seems to be doing everything as politician.
Well, on that point, analysis by New York's top corporate advocacy group shows that New York is losing thousands of jobs to pro-business Texas, and Mamdani's push to raise corporate taxes is certainly only going to accelerate that exodus. This is coming from a report issued by the Partnership for the City of New York. John, no surprises there, really. Can I get your assessment of Mamdani's latest announcement?
Well, New York City is losing jobs and business to Texas and also to Florida. New York City does have a budget crisis. Why is that? Because they spend an unbelievable amount of money. The current budget for New York City is $116 billion. Mamdani wants to raise it to $127 billion. $116 billion happens to be exactly the same as the budget for the entire state of Florida, which has almost 2 times as many people as New York City. That level of spending is unsustainable. The taxes are unsustainable, and people are fleeing New York City and New York State, and they're leaving Texas, they're leaving for Florida, they're leaving for other states that are more business friendly, and everything Mamdani is doing is going to accelerate the decline of New York City.
Let's turn to the tensions with Iran now. There's growing speculation that there could be a US strike on Iran within days. Axios is reporting that a Trump advisor indicated that there was a 90% chance of some activity taking place. John, I will get your analysis on this. Of course, recently Donald Trump said that regime change in Iran seems like that would be the best thing that could happen. What do you make of this? What's your assessment of what's likely going to happen?
Well, the administration has been negotiating with the mullahs over nuclear weapons. I think it is completely pointless. We have been down this path before. All they're going to do is stall for time. I think bombing is likely, but to be honest, Gabriella, it is probably impossible to overthrow a regime like the mullahs simply through bombing if you're not willing to put troops on the ground. And the reason is that they control the Iranian army, and the army is willing to shoot protesters. We've seen that over the last few weeks. And as long as that is true, I don't think there's any amount of bombing that is going to bring about regime change.
Also this week, Iran's supreme leader threatens to sink US aircraft carriers that have been sent to Middle East. He mocked US military strength with followers, warning that even the world's most powerful force can receive a slap so severe it cannot stay on its feet.
The final 10 seconds!
ممکنه چنان گاهی سیلی بخوره که از جا ندارم. میگن ما ناو فرستادیم طرف ایران. خیلی خوب. ناو البته یک دستگاه خطرناکی، اما خطرناکتر از ناو اون سلاحی که این ناو رو به قعر دریا.
Can I get your analysis on this? You know Donald Trump gets top marks for his foreign policy, but there's a lot of pressure on him with this one.
Yeah, look, I think the last time I was on this program a couple of weeks ago, ahead of some Trump talks with the Iranian regime in Oman, I said that I had a feeling that the Ayatollah and the leadership of the IRGC probably weren't getting a lot of sleep after watching what happened to Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. And certainly these comments suggest that maybe the Ayatollah is a little bit cranky because they're completely out of touch with reality. The Ayatollah knows, the IRGC know that they're almost powerless to stop the United States from taking military action against the regime. They were completely humiliated by the United States and by Israel last year with the strikes on the nuclear program. And I think the only question that is still outstanding is what's the scope of what the United States is going to try to achieve here? Is eliminating the Ayatollah, the goal is eliminating the Iranian nuclear program, further the goal. What is the end goal here? Because I have every confidence that our military will be able to prosecute the goal, but I'm skeptical that this can be done, a complete rebuilding of the Iranian government purely through restaurants.
Okay, we said Nick Weinstein, Signal Principal and Pollster, and John Kinderaka, President of the Center for the American Standards. Thank you both so much for joining us. Joining us now is the Ethics Research Fellow at the Institute of Public Affairs. Neil, thank you so much for your time. It's great to see you again. Let's start with what is happening in the UK. Small boat migrants who had their policies in the right country have now won compensating payouts. 32 asylum seekers have received more than £200,000. So that's more than £6,000 each, according to findings by The Sun. So the High Court ruled that in 2022, the Home Office policy breached human rights laws by taking their foreigners away. There are another 41 claims that are pending, which could push the bill to close to £500,000, Mia. Reform UK MP Robert Jenrick called it a farce, telling The Sun that this is further proof, as if it were needed, of how rulings made by European judges are working against the British people. I mean, Mia, can I get your reaction? What do you make of all of this?
Well, I think that point of view is probably correct, but it also just shows this is a very expensive lesson in just how poorly the migration system operates in the UK. I mean, every single day there is another scandal of small boat arrivals or illegal migrants crossing the border, and that shows no signs of slowing down. And this is just another scandal, the cherry on top of the crisis we're already seeing. And to put those numbers in perspective, yes, we've got that £210,000 figure. There was also a further £700,000 spent by UK taxpayers fighting these claims in the first place. And as you mentioned, that bill is expected to rise to over £480,000. So at the end of this,
we can no longer hide.
30 seconds before your attack. Get ready.
Nor can you save yourselves.
The fat acceptance movement has really taken inspiration from the gay rights movement and the LGBTQ plus movement, and has, you know, by using the similar terminology, is saying, you know, this is like being fat is like being gay.
Jesse Lee Peterson absolutely destroys this crazy woke liberal gender studies professor in this debate as Jesse Lee Peterson trolls the intelligence of this UCLA college professor spewing the woke garbage with basic questions that totally stun her in this brutal shutdown from Jesse Lee Peterson. Let's get in.
And what is gender studies?
So gender studies is sometimes you'll hear, sometimes departments are called women's studies, sometimes they're called gender studies. They have a history that goes back to what's often called the second wave women's movement in the 1970s. They didn't exist before that. But they are departments that specialize in studying relations of gender. And so what is gender? Well, typically the way I teach it in my sociology of gender class is that there is biological sex, and these are the differences, physical differences
between male
and female, yes. And then gender are the social meaning that we give to those physical differences. And so, I mean, much like race, right? There are some phenotypical differences between people, but the concept of race is a really socially constructed one that depends, in this country, it's largely constructed through the history of slavery, et cetera. It's a social arrangement, and similarly with gender. So the fact that, pilots are more often men than women, that's not due to some biological difference, that's due to social differences that we ascribe to, at the end of the day, pretty small biological differences.
Meaning that a man who is a pilot is more likely to get you there safely than a woman because he won't freak out if something should go wrong.
Well, so that those I love that you raised that. So that idea that women are non-rational or hysterical. That is a kind of that is a stereotype. Stereotypes or preconceived notions that are completely false of African Americans being less intelligent than whites, completely unfounded.
Is that unfounded? I thought that was true.
Based on what my research was absolutely not true, but it's a very useful way to justify subordinating a group. And similarly, for women, you put your finger right on it. Women being more emotional is one of the ways that they have been said, well, that this person couldn't possibly be in a position of power or control because, how could they have access to, like, nuclear weapons, right, when they're on their period? They're
right.
Aggressive.
Well, who's more likely to freak out in a situation, a man or a woman?
I don't know that we know that.
I noticed that lately, I get on a plane and sometimes I see females who are pilots, but there are men with them too.
Making sure they don't freak out.
I remember once I got on a small plane, one from somewhere to somewhere, and there were two female pilots, right? I felt very concerned. Whereas had it been two men, I would have felt no concern about it. Because I know that women tend to overreact to things because of their emotions.
I think that...
Do you study why that is?
Well, what we would study is why you would feel that way, and that, and how those fears that are actually not any more grounded than some of the other stereotypes we have of other people. So white men who are more likely to be the pilots and the surgeons and the CEOs, and women of all races and men of color who tend to be moved into, have a harder time in those more powerful positions. And so, in sociology of gender today, it hasn't always been the case. Black feminists have accused, very rightly so, a lot of feminist authors and gender studies authors for not sufficiently taking into account race. And so I think the best work happening now in gender studies is intersectional, and it's looking not just at how men and women are treated differently, but that knowing that you're never being treated or viewed as just a woman or just as man. You're always being treated as you know, a white man, a black man, or a white woman, black woman, and all of the other possibilities, age and nationality, etc.
You mentioned the white man and pilot, for example. In America, it would be natural to see more white people, white men flying for airplanes because America was created by white people, founded by white people, by white men.
Built by black people.
And then they hired the black people that the Arabs brought in to help build the country. But if you went to Africa where they're majority blacks, then you would see more black pilots and less white men driving or flying the plane. Am I right? Because of the population.
Well, it's the population, and it's also systems of inequality that are not just historical, but get reproduced every day and are very contemporary.
But you do agree that the population has something to do with it too. If there are more white people or black people in Africa, naturally you're going to see more
So there's not
of
many.
that race.
There are not many Jewish people. 1% of the population. I think Jews are only about 1% of the U.S. population too, and yet you see them nonetheless in positions of authority. This is now, we're moving a little bit out of my area of study because I am not a race scholar.
But I just want, because I'm trying to understand it, but you do consider the population too, right? That if there are more,
well, I mean,
if you go to Israel, of course you're going to have more Jewish pilots because there are more Jews.
There's also a lot of
Israel, right?
There's also a lot of discrimination and oppression of Palestinians in Israel, so that's part of it too. But no, I mean, just go back to women. Women are over half of the population, and yet we're not half of the pilots. We're not half of the doctors. We're not half of the surgeons. We're more than half of the nurses. We're more than half of you know, a lot of other professions, social work. Women are very underrepresented also in the trades, you know, in construction.
But that's because they got a late start.
Why is it that we see these patterns in which different races, ethnicities are not evenly or randomly distributed in terms of profession?
Life doesn't work like that. Nothing is evenly distributed. Before I get to your new book, I want to ask you about fatness.
Sure.
Right? And what is your opinion on fatness? What do you think about that? Because I noticed that people are trying to push fatness like it's a nice thing, right? You got all these fat women running around half naked and showing their fat butts.
Yeah, so where's that? I haven't seen that spot.
There's one black rapper right now, woman.
Lizzo?
Yeah, she is gross and she's old and she's fat.
No, that must not be
the rapper. Is it Lizzo? Yeah, Lizzo.
It's not old.
She was at a fat ball.
If Lizzo's old, then I'm ancient, and you, let's not even start.
I'm ancient. God made me, and then he made dirt for me to walk on. But that's how old I am. But what do you think about fatness?
So I mean, I published this book in 2013, What's Wrong with Fat? And what I was trying to answer in this question was, how is it that we have come to believe in this world, and your statements are a great example of this, how have we become so certain that it's unhealthy, it's undesirable, it's ugly? Like, where is that coming from, and what are the social implications of that?
So let me ask, I'm black and I'm slow, so I may ask in a weird way. Are you trying to prove that fatness doesn't cause diseases and death, or it's not? It doesn't cause high blood pressure.
I'll
all
leave to the epidemiologists and the medical doctors to
debate
that out. But what I do show,
that it's attractive or something?
Being discriminated against also raises stress and cortisol level, which causes more weight gain. And in fact, one of the things I show in the book is all of this anti-fat bias that we heap on people because they're heavier, and we tell them you're ugly and you shouldn't, and you shouldn't be going out. Like that actually has been shown to make people heavier.
Would you want to be fat, you personally?
Would I want to be fat? Would I want to take on discrimination and be mistreated in society? No.
So you're saying that being fat, people are discriminating against them, right?
There's a lot of discrimination.
And that stress for the fat person, and they get fatter.
There's a lot of evidence that is what happens.
So now that white people, especially white men, are being discriminated against, should we expect to see a lot of fat white men?
What, fat white men are being discriminated against, really?
Should we be able to
This
see a
is
lot
a
of
news
fat
flash?
white men? So what is fat phobia? What is that?
So, you know,
You write
and
about that.
this actually starts to link into my new book a little bit.
Yeah.
Come out, whoever you are.
Right.
Because this term fat phobia is borrowed from, it's inspired by another word. Can you guess what term fat phobia? There's another kind of phobia we talk about a lot.
White supremacy.
I mean, white supremacy is a real problem, but a word that has phobia in it.
I am ready to put on a
White
show.
phobia.
Homophobia.
Oh, that's
So-
where fat phobia came from?
I believe so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And one of the things that I found really surprising when I started doing research at the fat acceptance movement in the year 2000.
Fat acceptance?
I went to the National Association to Advance Fat Acceptance, was holding a conference in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. The fat acceptance movement has really taken inspiration from the gay rights movement and the LGBTQ plus movement, and has, you know, by using the similar terminology, is saying, you know, this is like, being fat is like being gay. We're discriminated against, but also, you know, you've been asking me questions that kind of assume like it's a choice. Would I want to be fat? Why do people tell people not? But there's actually, and this is not my research, but there are geneticists who've shown that body size is just as determined by genetics as is height. Require an explanation.
So what you guys are trying to do, if I'm hearing this correctly, you're trying to convince society to accept fat as a norm, not look at them and think, wow, that's a fat one, right? You're trying to cause society to see an abnorm as a norm.
Let me know down below if you agree with Jesse Lee Peterson that this woke nut job is essentially trying to make everybody unhealthy and fat just so no one can be discriminated against. This is just more woke liberal garbage that you pay entirely too much for to get indoctrinated with. If you go to any of these blue Ivy League liberal colleges, I mean, this is just the most woke garbage that you can even fat. I mean, seriously, fat shaming. Oh, it's so terrible for people to be fat. Like, being obese is unhealthy. It shortens your life. It removes your capability. It means higher hospital costs and medical costs and treatment down the road. There are practical reasons for this, but you know what? None of that matters. None of that matters to any of these people. I mean, being discriminated against fat people is like hating on gay people and black people. I mean, they just find any possible way to play the victim. That's it. That's it. They will twist anything they want into making themselves to be oppressed by somebody, somewhere, somehow, no matter what. That way they can just feel good about being subgrade, crappy human beings who don't strive to be anything more than woke, liberal, fat nut jobs that are going to be stuck with cats forever because no guy could possibly stand to be around. But hit that like button and notification bell if you're enjoying the video, and let's get back in.
Would you marry a beta male?
We still got work to do.
That's a personal question. I'm already married, so I can't. My father used to
Is he a
say.
beta?
My father said about my husband that he's a what did he say? He's a closet alpha. That he's an alpha pretending not to be, something like that. I have to remember. I have to ask my mom.
Oh, so you were really an alpha male, but he pretended to be a beta male with you?
That he didn't come off as he comes back as more laid back than
Well, like
he
a beta
really
male.
is. Yeah.
Amazing.
But yeah.
The Me Too movement, you heard that, right? Who do you agree with me that they've gone too far with that? It's a joke now?
No, I would not agree.
Why not? Why not?
We have so far to go. So I mean, the truth is, it's a real problem, and a tiny proportion of victims ever come forward. It's just so hard for women to win, even when they're telling the truth again and again, which is the overwhelming majority of the time. It's very rare that women.
You know why that is, right?
Why what is?
Why sometimes women don't win when they make these accusations. You know why they don't win, right?
Well, what you're gonna say, I'm sure is not what I'm gonna say.
When you say,
but
why
this is your show.
No, but you're my guest, you're the expert. Why is it so that the women don't win those cases?
Well, it's very hard to win a case in criminal court of sexual assault. The whole criminal system is based, and understandably so, rightfully so. What is much, much more common is so
Apple,
many
are you
women
okay?
who are victimized who never come forward. No, it actually is true. Believe me, I'm the expert. That's why you brought me out here. I'm telling you, it's true. You might not like to believe it, but it's
You're
true.
the expert, but I have the common sense. So I know that's not true, right?
Well,
but let me tell you this.
Common sense is it's sometimes a dangerous thing.
Common sense is the only way to go.
It leads you to ignore facts and to reinforce your preconceived assumptions.
I know why.
So be cautious about that.
No, common sense is the problem. Is people don't use common sense anymore. They use the intellect, and the intellect lacks common sense, and that's why the world going to hell in a handbasket.
Why the hell am I sitting here?
Do you use common sense? You don't use common sense?
I do use common sense, but I'm saying preconceived
I thought
notions.
you used common sense.
Of course I use common
Oh.
sense. But I also like to see the facts and the studies, and I know that we can often assume things are right based on what everybody else, the kind of preconceived notions, and those are often wrong.
Let me ask you this because of time.
Yeah.
Some of the time,
Deadpool, can you stop dying? My God.
Choose you, say whatever they want and get away with it. But the reason that I'm glad that a lot of these cases women lose is because women are not all, but most women are. It's easy for women to lie, and they don't mind destroying you. If they get angry at you, because a lot of women, you hit on them and they go, yeah, I want to do it, let's do it. And then as soon as you do it, they get mad because they become addicted to you, they want to control you, and then they'll falsely accuse you. And the courts are set up to believe the woman over the man, so that's why this needs to end, because a lot of these women don't mind destroying men. They'll destroy the men's children in the womb and outside the womb. We need to stop this movement before it goes too far. Don't you agree?
Are you really a lord,
It
bro?
sounds like you've had some really painful experiences.
Oh, no, I've never had
Because you
that.
can't heal. You can't heal for shit.
I just know other men who've gone through that. But do you agree it's time to end this type of this crazy and so-called women? And look at the women in the movement. Nobody want them anyway. I think they're mad because no one want them. They're like lesbian, fat, ugly, they're short hair. Nobody want them. I think they're mad about that. Wouldn't you agree?
No, we wouldn't. Sorry. I think we're talking past each other.
What do you mean?
I am speechless. What can I say?
All I can say is there is absolutely no way her man is an alpha. There's no way, because there's no way an alpha is going to let his woman take up an ideology that is literally against him and just allow that. There's no way. That gets stamped out, and that's what men need to do. If your woman starts picking up this woke crap, this feminist garbage, you need to stamp that out quick. Nope, not in this house. We're not doing this relationship. No. The whole point of how all of the woke, liberal nonsense, came to be is that men stop preventing it from happening in the first place. And that's what men need to get back to. If you're going to be in the relationship with a woman and she comes anywhere not around this, you need to stamp that out in an instant. Otherwise, she's going to end up like one of these women who are just literally out of her effing mind, living in absolute woke delusion. But thanks for watching. Let me know down below in the comments what you thought about what Jesse Lee Peterson had to say, absolutely destroying this woke college professor in this debate, trolling her, leaving her speechless. Thanks again, like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.
I thought that the Glartrox was bonded to
Now let's get to the sheriff of this Nancy Guthrie case. He's had to come out in the past couple of days and say nothing to see here in terms of the family. Now this gives us an opportunity to kind of go there. Some edges of the internet and some of the actions of the police themselves have raised some questions in and around the brother-in-law. I'll be very clear, I'm not accusing him of anything, nor of course you. But it is interesting that they've come out and said, family, nothing to see here.
Okay, let me actually read you what the sheriff has said. On Sunday, he spoke to the Daily Mail and said, nobody, this is a quote, nobody has been cleared as suspects. On Monday, he issued a press release saying the family, quote, has been cleared as possible suspects. Tuesday, he issued another press release. The Guthrie family has not been identified as suspects, which is very different from has been cleared, okay? I also have not been identified as a suspect, but I'm in absolutely no legal jeopardy on that case because I live in Connecticut. That's not the same situation for those who are actually a couple doors down from the mother or 2 miles away in the case of the Savannah's sister and brother-in-law. And I'm not saying that those two did anything whatsoever to Nancy Guthrie, but what I'll tell you is that the sheriff all along has said no one's been ruled out. No one's been ruled out. No one's been ruled out. And while he's been saying that, he towed the sister-in-law's car and impounded it into evidence. He sent, and so did the FBI, law enforcement agents to the sister and the brother-in-law's house over and over and over, in the middle of the night, where they kept the lights out and took pictures at 10:30 a.m. and then again they went and took another 10 overnight. Why did they do all that? They didn't do all that at Nancy Guthrie's neighbor's house. And where Annie Guthrie and Tomas, her husband, live is not the crime scene. So why were they doing all of that investigative work inside of their home if they are not at least considering one or both of them as having had something to do with Nancy's disappearance? All this dovetails with what a reporter here, 20-year crime reporter, very well respected Ashley Banfield reported, which was on day 3 of the investigation, a senior law enforcement source who she said she trusts and implicitly has impeccable credentials told her that Tomas, who is Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, or Savannah Guthrie's brother-in-law, may be the prime suspect. And when she got a storm raining down on her for reporting that, day after day after day, the source said, you're on. Don't worry. Now, I had similar reporting that I offered based on my own sources, Paul, so I don't think Ashley Banfield is a nut. That doesn't mean that this guy did it, and it doesn't mean he's their only possible suspect. But her person said may be the prime, and mine basically said, feel free to stay on. Okay? So that's where we were coming into this week with the sheriff having said over and over, no one's cleared, no one's cleared, no one's cleared. But be nice to the family. Don't be so mean social media. Some of these people are victims. Now the sheriff has a couple motivations. Let's say he actually does think the brother-in-law is a suspect. He wants him to continue cooperating with him. He does not want him to lawyer up. He does not want to have the man see him as an adversary. That's all very smart investigative police work. That's not my line of work. My line of work is to figure out what's going on and to report to my audience. If law enforcement ever contacted me and said, I'm going to give you a tip, but I need you to keep this confidential for the integrity of the investigation, I would honor that. But that's not what this sheriff is doing. He's saying, don't be so mean. Okay, sorry, we're the media, sir. This is a Wendy's, sir.
I am ready to put on a show.
Whoever told you we weren't mean? Okay, that's what we get paid to do. We're not in the I want to be liked business. We're in the I want to report news business. So I don't know what the story is with the brother-in-law, or isn't. But I know the sheriff, in a desperate plea to appease what I think is probably Savannah and her sister, came out on, first of all, he screwed up on Sunday. He said, no one's been ruled out. And then clearly had some pressure from the family, and on Monday said, the family's not suspects. They've been ruled out. And then the federal law enforcement didn't back that up. They were like, no comment, basically. And he came out the next day and said,
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
They haven't been identified as suspects. So we don't know what the truth is at this point, but you don't, as the reporter covering this, or frankly as the police, rule anybody out until you see handcuffs on somebody. And even then, you might have a few questions left.
And what about some of the media who just doesn't like when you get into the uncomfortable territory of where all of this leads? Chris Cuomo, who is, of course, a cable TV host in the US, formerly of CNN, he is all angry, kind of passive-aggressive about what you are doing, which is following every lead.
Oh, it would be completely inappropriate for me to spend no time on the brother-in-law. He was the last person to see Nancy Guthrie. I mean, you know, that we know of. Obviously, an abduction came into the house later that night. But he was the person who had Nancy at his house earlier in the day and says he dropped her back off at her house at 9:48 p.m. the night she disappeared. Obviously, we have to look at the brother-in-law. I'm sorry. If you, God forbid, had a family member go missing, or I, God forbid, had this happen to us, I think both of us would say, speculate all you want about me, about my family. As long as you continue paying attention to the case and keeping it in the headlines, I'm fine. That's the whole game when you have a missing person, is to keep it in the news. And if what keeps it in the news is speculation about a family member, so be it. That's how I feel. But this guy, of course, was going to get scrutiny because he was the last person to see Nancy Guthrie alive that we know of, other than the abductor. And the sheriff is the one who told us that. The sheriff came out and said it was this guy, Tomas, who drove her home on the night in question. Then people said, oh, the Tomas, whose house you're searching overnight with the lights out? The Tomas, whose car you appear to have seized, or at least that of his wife? That guy. And the next thing we knew, the sheriff came out and said, well, family dropped her off. He'd already said that it was Tomas. And then when he was asked, why did you switch it from Tomas to family, he said, oh, because people were just breathing too much heat down that guy's neck, you know, so just to be nice. Like, well, what did you accomplish when you told us that? When you tell us, you kind of So this guy is a hot mess on his messaging ball, and of course that only makes the media's hackles raise up more. And if Fredo Cuomo has a different reaction because he's a Fredo, he's more in the business of protecting the family. You know what I'm saying? He's not a truth searcher. That's his problem, not mine. But as a Fredo, the real problem with Fredo Cuomo is not that he has any objection to the way we cover crime or anything else on our show. It's that we happen to be one of, if not the top show in conservative podcasting, and Fredo no rating. Fredo is bitter because he can't get anybody to watch any loser program he associates himself with. And that creates a certain sense of envy that is really corrosive to one's soul.
Yeah, buddy, well said.
Born again!
This is Power with Gabriella Power.
Hello and welcome to Power Hour. I'm Gabriella Power. Thank you so much for joining us. President Donald Trump has had a bit to say about the Democrats who embarrassed themselves on the world stage at the Munich Security Conference. The president called out AOC, Gavin Newsom and Hillary Clinton for their performances, saying it was not a good look for America.
The way I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newsom answering questions in Munich, and this was a bad look for our country. This was a bad. These two people are incompetent, and at least Hillary's competent. She's just Trump deranged. She was so deranged. She is an angry woman. But I watched the other two speaking and answering basic questions. Look, Gavin has destroyed California. And AOC, I never heard her speak very much, and they started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world. But she can't answer questions concerning New York City either, because New York City is got some problems.
Is he wrong? I don't think so, but you be the judge. Firstly, here's Gavin Newsom with his out-of-control climate alarmism, saying people are burning up all because of climate change.
Many have called Joe Biden the climate president, but that didn't help with his re-election. So how important do you think climate issues will be back for the 2028 presidential election?
Well, you may not believe in science, but you got to believe your own eyes. I mean, people are burning up, choking up, heating up. We have simultaneous droughts and floods. Historic wildfires. You know maybe little about California. You've seen those images of these wildfires. Talk about being as dumb as we want to be.
I mean, not mentioning that he failed on just about every level to prepare California for those horrific wildfires in January last year. But let's look at AOC's performance for the cameras in Munich. We played some of the parts yesterday. Here's a little bit more, and according to Politico, AOC spent months preparing for this appearance. I mean, this was her big chance to outline her vision for foreign policy, yet this is how she responded to a very straightforward but important question about Taiwan.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
You know, I think that this is such a, you know, I think that this is a, this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point, and we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic, research, and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
She has no idea. I didn't think we were going to get there. It was certainly painful. Finally, Hillary Clinton, who, while she was speaking at this conference, admitted, very obvious point, that mass migration has been destabilizing for the United States. Tell that to Joe Biden. But she began panicking as she was called out for her Trump derangement syndrome that clearly prevents her from just hearing a rational answer.
We saw the cancel culture. We saw the woke revolution. I don't agree with the gender revolution, the climate alarmism.
Gender women have their rights.
I think there are two genders. So, but some of us think that there is more than one, or more than two gender. I think there is male and female, and the rest probably is a social construct. So this is something that went too far.
But does that justify selling out the people of Ukraine who are on the front lines dying to save their freedom and their two genders? If that's what you're worried about?
Can I please finish my points? I'm sorry that it makes you nervous. I'm really sorry for that.
It makes me nervous. It makes me very angry.
I won't make the same mistakes again.
Joining us now is filmmaker Ami Horowitz. Ami, it's great to see you again. Let's start with Munich. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez is right now trying to spin her way out of her train wreck appearances at the annual Munich Security Conference, where it was just gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. I mean, there are now legitimate questions around how much she actually knows, other than the lines that she's been given. And what shocked me is that she'd been preparing for this conference for months, yet she couldn't answer really basic questions about foreign policy. She revealed that she didn't know where Venezuela is. It was such a disaster, but she's clearly panicking now. She's since been on the phone to a reporter at the New York Times to explain what on earth she was doing there. And she claims, no, it's not because she wants to run for president. I don't know who got that idea, but it's because we need to sound the alarm bells about inequality that is fueling far-right populist movements. Can I get your reaction? What are your thoughts on AOC's performance and what she was really doing in Munich?
Yeah, who's not surprised that she doesn't know what she's talking about? Okay, not this guy. I think it's pretty obvious, and what she did was she opened her idiocy to the entire world. But nobody in the U.S. who's in foreign policy is shocked by this at all. Yeah, she specifically talked about Venezuela being below the equator, and of course that was a gaffe. But it does signal a larger kind of narrative for her, right? Because she wants it so badly to be there because this whole leftist viewpoint that it's a South versus the North. And that's a conflict that we're in geopolitically. And that we, the North, have been putting upon the South for years. So it kind of fits. I think what's fascinating also is that you see all of the center left, right, the media going after her, attacking her. Why? Because they are so afraid that she might win the nomination. That she, if winning the nomination, would throw away golden opportunities for the Democrats to return to the White House. They are so scared of that, that even they went after her where they normally wouldn't, because they want to make sure that she is not the nominee. Yeah, it was fascinating. It was a train wreck. It was a tire fire. And Gabriella, I was here for all of it. Love to see it.
Yeah, we do. And you're right about left-wing critics really going after her. I mean, the Washington Post editorial board said that she was appeared out of her depth. Former CNN journalist said that she was not right. I also want to talk about Gavin Newsom, who again claimed that the January wildfires last year were so catastrophic, not because of his failure to repair the state, but because of the climate change army. But Gavin Newsom signed a clean energy agreement with the UK government, so the UK and California will work together in investments in green energy, which is supposedly going to be cutting bills for families. I'm not sure about that. Donald Trump says that the UK has got enough trouble without getting involved with Gavin Newsom. The worst thing that the UK can do is to get involved with Gavin. If they did to the UK what he did to California, this will not be a very successful venture. Army, is that a bit harsh from Donald Trump, or has he got a point?
Look, both things could be true, and both things are true. Look, do I love the President of the United States using terminology like Gavin Newsom? I do not. But, you know, like I tell my kids all the time, you get what you get, you don't get upset, okay? Look, we voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is our president. Good Trump and bad Trump. Now,
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Ooh, pick me! Pick me! Be wary. No timeline exists where Magneto yields. I will never allow Krakoa to suffer the same fate as Genosha.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
The powers to me when I was born.
Really? My father passed the spider armor down to me when he died.
Sounds like we both have a legacy.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Just as I forged a nation, I shall wield a weapon fit for a king.
I need assistance. Too easy, Namor.
These things must belong to Namor. Maybe a point. Rebirth is a mutant's greatest gift.
Just who Gambit was looking for.
Much better.
My healing factor can't keep up. How about an assist?
You are under my protection.
A shield? Oh, why not?
What vile creature?
Release the Globetrotters! Wait!
Fucking hurt! You need not fear. I feel like
How many lords do you got, bro? I got all that lord but no skill.
what vile creature is no more summoned?
I am healed.
My power cannot be quelled.
There you are, you cheeky git.
I feel like myself.
Dinner time, love!
You shall not be harmed.
Oh, I love a shield.
Hey, anyone?
Only 60 seconds left.
Go. Glad we're on the same side this time, Elsa.
Watch your step!
I feel like myself again.
Help get that vehicle to its destination.
Days like this, I kind of wish I never made it out of it.
Fight better.
That would have been nice. Days like this.
Vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
When Wakanda called, Krakoa answered.
You are under my protection.
Sure, I'll take a shield.
Do be more careful next time.
Don't let anything stand in your way.
You need not fear. Much better. Ah, here they are now.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Open your eyes. Reality is
Escape pod ready. Opening escape passage.
I would knit the dimensions back together if it were within my power.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
One sorcerer to another. What's the source of your power?
I am no sorcerer. I am a goddess.
I'd still like to know.
And you will. One day when you enter my realm.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Can't afford hesitation.
The Sorcerer Supreme lives once more.
I'll patch you up.
I am strengthened for battle.
Enemy down.
Focus on the battle.
I'll patch you up.
Leave me, darkness! Good medicine.
I'll patch you up.
I spy some bad guys.
Help get that vehicle to its destination. I need assistance. Run the exploding plasma.
Leave me, darkness!
Never miss.
I purge the darkness!
You're halfway there. Keep going. Such darkness. The sooner we deliver this, the better.
By the eye of Agamotto!
Let me help.
Good medicine.
I am wounded. Who will help?
Take a look behind.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
This is real firepower. I'll patch you up.
The Sorcerer Supreme returns.
Get that vehicle moving again.
Woo! Never miss. Assemble!
Our enemies are near.
Look behind you.
I'll patch you up.
Run the exploding plasma. I found my weak spot. How Devil's essence to the realm below.
Pick it up!
More powerful yet. I'll patch you up.
The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
Hey, team! Enjoy the amplifier! Release the Clawtron!
My life was in peril.
Ready to overthrow the king? Let's do it.
Oh, I need assistance.
You're welcome.
That's it! Don't let anything stand in your way. Friends, gather around! Mind your
armor is this?
Black Panther
By the eye of Agamotto, never miss.
Here's your big chance! Help, friends! There! Hunt the enemy sniper! Focus on the battle! I feel your pain.
More powerful yet.
This is real firepower!
See there? The sniper.
You're about to shoot at us.
Another epic victory! Big win! Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging. Seconds before you attack. Get ready. The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2,
All those
1.
crises I quietly put out.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
What are they like, these other worlds where I do not exist?
You do some real damage here.
Observe.
Oh, I'm fine. Don't mind me.
I am straight built for battle.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Get in there.
The mission area is yours.
I'm not in control.
Power of a balanced cheat.
Advantage gained on the material plane. Good medicine.
Shot to the soul.
Enemy in front of us.
I am in your debt.
Some assistance, please.
I am ready to put on a show.
I purge the darkness.
Half of the mission area. Keep going.
Leave me, darkness.
Behold
the god of thunder!
Control lost.
Invigorating.
Born again!
Your fate.
The Sorcerer Supreme lives once more.
The dragon unleashed.
Our foes draw near.
Assemble! Bring on the chaos.
Dinner time, love.
I require some aid.
Control seized.
The power of render me assistance.
Good medicine.
Stand strong at the finish. Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
The area is almost yours. Control lost.
Mortal pain is no match for the Sorcerer Supreme.
There you are, you cheeky bitch.
Full support. Rise by friend.
Your team's captured that past the halfway point.
I am strength.
I am ready to put on a show.
Out, dark magic. Behold the god of thunder!
Control seized.
Advantage gained in the material
My
plane.
ribbons are not yet ready.
As Sorcerer Supreme, I oversee other magical adepts.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Warlock is a curious name for one with no arcane powers.
I didn't choose it.
No one chooses their birth name. But after that, you may call yourself what you like.
I like Adam Warlock, but maybe I'll start calling myself Sorcerer Supreme.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Some may call this entanglement chaos. I only see opportunities.
Pentagram of by the Eye of Agamotto!
Turn around! They're behind us! Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Born again!
Mission area is yours. Love that kick.
Rise, my friends! I require some aid.
We must marshal our defenses.
Sweet ninja move, Skylar, but not sweet enough.
Love that kick.
Healing power.
Dark magic!
You've captured more than half of the mission area. Keep going.
Good medicine. Enemy in front of us.
Strike this place till nothing stands.
Some assistance, please.
Behold the god of thunder!
Double kill.
By the Eye of Agamotto! I am here to
That's 3.
let the darkness take them. Born again!
I am ready to put on a show. Keep fighting until we have a winner.
Good medicine.
A doorway in reality. Must be strangers
Oh, I'm fine, don't mind me.
Dinner time, love.
Your powers are mine! Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Mortal, I'm opening a portal. Pentagram of Parrot.
Dragons unleashed!
Another epic victory. Big win.